Someone once tried to sell a single used flip-flop at a garage sale. Not a pair, not even a matching replacement. Just one lonely sandal, sitting on a card table like it was a rare artifact from the Museum of Bad Decisions. And here's the thing, someone actually considered buying it. That's the beauty of the American garage sale. It's not about bargains, it's about watching your neighbors attempt to convert literal garbage into collectibles. From expired food to cursed dolls with eyes that follow you home, every driveway suddenly becomes an auction house of delusion. And if you think that one shoe was the low point, oh no, that was just the warm-up act. 1. Someone once listed a half-eaten jar of peanut butter on Craigslist. Yes, half-eaten. Not sealed, not vintage, not rare. Just your standard, I ran out of bread and decided to turn my pantry into a side hustle. The seller even bragged it was only lightly used, as if peanut butter is a pre-owned Toyota. You can almost imagine the negotiations. I'll give you $2 if you scrape out the sides for me. This wasn't a food listing. This was an infectious disease starter pack, the DIY edition. And the fact that they thought anyone would buy it tells you everything you need to know about the Craigslist economy. It's less free market and more Hunger Games for people with no taste buds. 2. At a flea market in Ohio, a guy tried to sell a taxidermied squirrel, riding a miniature Harley Davidson. This wasn't even subtle taxidermy, like the noble deer head above a fireplace. No, this was a rodent in permanent midlife crisis cosplay. Somewhere, a taxidermist sat down and thought, you know what's missing from this world? Tiny biker squirrels. And then actually made it. The price? A cool $85. That's right. Someone valued a dead squirrel on a toy motorcycle at more than dinner for two. Imagine explaining that to your accountant. This wasn't a bad investment. This was art. Honestly, it's probably still for sale. And when society collapses, I fully expect biker squirrel to be the new national currency. 3. Thrift stores are already cursed energy condensed into 4 walls, but one took it to Olympic levels by proudly displaying a slightly used coffin. Yes, a coffin. Pre-owned, like someone had returned it because the warranty ran out. The tag even said, perfect for Halloween decoration or practical use. Practical use, because nothing says bargain hunting like digging up Grandpa so you can recycle his final resting place. The kicker? It was standing upright in the middle of the store, like a horror movie prop waiting to inhale a child. And if you think no one buys that, wrong. People do. Because America's motto isn't "In God We Trust," it's "Hey, it was on sale." 4. Craigslist once blessed the world with a listing for gently used dentures. Gently, as if chewing is a delicate art form. Apparently, the seller decided dentures are like jeans. Once they're broken in, they're actually better. The description even said they were sanitized. Oh great, because nothing screams trustworthy like sterilization claims from a stranger who's currently trying to pawn off their old mouth bones. Let's be honest. These dentures were one cavity away from starring in their own horror film. And yet, someone out there thought, wow, secondhand teeth. What a steal. This wasn't a listing. It was an unintentional sequel to Saw. 5. At a garage sale in Wisconsin, a woman tried to sell a single slice of moldy bread. Why? Because according to the handwritten sign, it looks like Jesus. And sure enough, if you squinted hard enough, and had recently been concussed, you could kind of see the vague outline of a bearded face. Price tag? $50. Because apparently divine carbs appreciate faster than Bitcoin. This wasn't faith. This was straight-up bakery blasphemy. And I'm not saying it's dumb to sell moldy bread, but if Jesus really came back, I'm pretty sure the first thing he wouldn't want to see is his face covered in penicillin fungus on someone's folding table. 6. A flea market in Florida once had a full-sized suit of medieval armor for sale. Sounds impressive until you realize it was made entirely out of Bud Light cans. Not steel, not iron, beer cans. This wasn't a knight. It was the patron saint of regrettable bachelor parties. The seller proudly announced it took over 400 cans to make, which raises 2 urgent questions. How many of those were consumed before construction? And how did no one step in to stop him? The price was $600 because apparently beer can armor depreciates slower than used cars. Honestly, it might have been more useful than real armor. At least when you die in battle, your buddies can shotgun your leg plate. 7. Ever seen someone sell used toilet paper rolls online? Not the paper. just the empty cardboard tubes. One Craigslist seller had over 200 of them stacked like some kind of DIY Eiffel Tower of sadness. They claimed it was perfect for crafts. Translation: I hoarded garbage and now I need someone else to validate it. The listing even added, great for kids' projects. Oh sure, because nothing says childhood creativity like mom handing you a box of poop-adjacent cylinders. At that point, just admit you're not selling crafting supplies. You're selling the physical embodiment of procrastination. And probably tetanus. 8. At a thrift shop in Kentucky, someone found an entire gallon-sized Ziploc bag labeled Mystery Liquids. $3. Mystery. Liquids. Not drinks, not cleaning supplies, just liquid. In unlabeled jars. This wasn't shopping. This was signing up for a side quest in Fallout. The cashier even shrugged when asked what was inside. Could be vinegar, could be gasoline. Who knows? Oh, fantastic. I'll take 2. Who needs Amazon Prime when you can play Russian roulette with bodily fluids and antifreeze for less than a latte? This wasn't a bargain. This was Darwin Award bait. 9. Garage sales love to advertise antiques, but one genius took it too literally. He tried to sell a rusted shopping cart, labeling it Early American Wagon. Early American Wagon. Because when the pioneers set out across the Great Plains, they totally packed their oxen and horses into a Kroger cart with one squeaky wheel. He wanted $75. Firm. Like the rust had somehow increased the cart's value. If this guy ever becomes a museum curator, we're doomed. The Smithsonian will just be 300-year-old trash cans labeled colonial storage vessels. 10. On Craigslist, someone once posted an ad for a haunted mirror. That's right, a mirror. Haunted. According to the description, it makes faces appear at night, which sounds less like a haunting and more like what mirrors do. Still, the seller warned that the mirror may cause feelings of dread and bad luck. Oh great, so basically every mirror in every fitting room at Target. Price tag, $150. Which is insane, because if I want a reflective surface that makes me feel bad about myself, I can just use the selfie camera on my phone. For free. 11. At a flea market, a man sold a box of VHS tapes labeled Family Memories, 1989 to 1994. That's right, he didn't bother to erase them, just slapped on a price tag and sold his childhood like it was clearance stock at Walmart. Buyers reported the tapes were just hours of birthday parties, school plays, and some dude named Uncle Steve doing cannonballs into a pool. And here's the real kicker. People actually bought them, which means somewhere a stranger is watching Steve's cannonballs on repeat like it's the Criterion Collection. Honestly, this isn't secondhand media, it's identity theft, analog edition. 12. A thrift shop once displayed a wedding dress with a tag that read, "Barely used, good for second chances." Barely used, like it's a pair of sneakers someone wore twice to jog around the block. Oh no, this wasn't a dress. This was a textile obituary for a failed marriage. And let's be real, whoever bought it wasn't just buying fabric. They were buying baggage, the kind of curse that makes you wonder if the divorce papers are still tucked into the veil. You know you're in trouble when even Goodwill has a sense of humor about your love life. 13. Craigslist once hosted a listing for slightly haunted doll. No returns. Just slightly haunted. As if the ghosts inside it only work part-time shifts. The description insisted it occasionally moved on its own, but probably wasn't dangerous. Oh good, because nothing sells like vague poltergeist disclaimers. The best part? No returns. So if the doll strangles you in your sleep, tough luck. You're just stuck with it. Honestly, that's not a toy. That's a sleep paralysis demon with a business plan. 14. A garage sale in California once featured celebrity chewed gum. That's right, gum. Already chewed. The seller swore it was spat out by a famous person, though they refused to say who. Because nothing screams authenticity like chewing trash anonymity. The gum was carefully displayed in a plastic jewelry box, like it was the Hope Diamond of human saliva. And the asking price? $200 for something one celebrity's digestive system rejected. If this trend continues, we'll all be broke, not from buying NFTs, but from hoarding celebrity nasal tissue. 15. At a flea market, a guy proudly sold a melted garden gnome as modern art. It wasn't a sculpture. It wasn't even recognizable. It was just a lumpy pile of disfigured plastic with a hat sticking out. Price tag, $75. The seller insisted it was a commentary on global warming. Sure, buddy. And my burned grilled cheese is a commentary on industrial decline. The funniest part? Someone actually bought it. Not because it was art, but because they wanted to prove to their friends that people really are that dumb. Spoiler, they are. 16. A thrift store in Arizona once offered a life-sized cardboard cutout of Greg. Who's Greg? Nobody knows, just some random middle-aged man immortalized in corrugated paper. The listing described him like a beloved pet. Greg is loyal, calming, and has been to many weddings. Oh, how lovely. A cardboard stranger with a better social life than most of us. Price was $20, firm. And the catch? Greg is looking for a permanent home. This wasn't a sale. This was adoption paperwork. Honestly, if you buy Greg, you're not just shopping, you're joining a cult. 17. And then there was the Craigslist ad for a mostly reliable parachute. Mostly reliable. I don't care if it's 99.9% reliable. That 0.1% is going to feel pretty important at 10,000 feet. The seller claimed it worked last time, which only raises the question, if it worked last time, how are you alive to sell it? Price, $250. No refunds. That's not a parachute. That's a one-way ticket to meet gravity, up close and personal. Honestly, it should have just been labeled skydiving gear for people tired of making decisions. 18. At a flea market in Texas, I once saw a man selling authentic dinosaur bones. Sounds impressive, right? Until you realized it was literally just a box of chicken wings from Buffalo Wild Wings that had been left out in the sun. He even wrote T-Rex on the box in Sharpie like that added scientific credibility. His sales pitch was brilliant too. Kids love dinosaurs. Yeah, but they don't usually want to gnaw on last week's barbecue scraps. Price tag, $40. Honestly, this wasn't paleontology. It was food poisoning with branding. The Smithsonian must be furious they didn't get there first. 19. Craigslist once hosted a listing for authentic wizard staff. Now, when you hear that, you picture Gandalf's staff, or at least something carved from wood, right? Nope. This was a mop handle duct taped to a flashlight. The seller promised it had mystical properties, like illuminating a dark hallway if you press the button. Oh, truly magical. It's basically Harry Potter if Hogwarts had been sponsored by Home Depot. He wanted $25 for it too, which is bold, considering it's literally an item you can make for free if you lose a bet and hate yourself. 20. A garage sale in Nevada had the boldness to advertise a collectible rock, one rock, from a driveway. The seller swore it had healing energy, which, fun fact, is also known as being a rock. And because they were committed to the bit, they displayed it on a velvet pillow like it was the Hope Diamond. Price, $15. For a driveway pebble. I can just imagine the buyer bringing it home and realizing they'd basically paid for landscaping supplies. The only thing this rock healed was the seller's beer fund. 21. A thrift store in Michigan proudly showcased a blender that came with the world's most honest tag. Works but smells like smoke. Smells like smoke? That's not a warning label. That's a prophecy. You're basically paying $10 for the chance to burn your house down in the most smoothie-related way possible. Imagine inviting friends over, care for a margarita, and suddenly you're all evacuating because your kitchen looks like a scene from Backdraft. This isn't kitchenware. It's a fire hazard with a plug. 22. On Craigslist, a man once tried to sell vintage air. I'm not kidding. He had mason jars filled with authentic 1990s air trapped inside. His sales pitch? Breathed nostalgia, as if oxygen molecules age like fine wine. He claimed one jar had been sealed since the day Jurassic Park premiered. For $50, you could literally inhale Steven Spielberg's leftovers. The sad part is, I guarantee someone bought one just to say, yeah, I'm currently breathing 1993. Spoiler, no, you're not. You're breathing disappointment. 23. A flea market in Louisiana once had a booth selling celebrity toenail clippings. That's right, little yellow keratin crescents sitting in a baggie labeled with names like Elvis and Cher. No certificates, no proof, just nails. Who even decides to monetize foot trash? The pitch was own a piece of history. Yeah, the grossest possible piece. For For $100, you too can own a stranger's DNA sample and guarantee yourself a spot on the FBI's People of Interest list. 24. At a garage sale in Oregon, a family sold a single sock. Not a pair, just one sock. And to make it worse, it was a child's sock. Their justification? Someone might need it. Who exactly? A one-legged toddler with a shopping budget of 25 cents? They laid it out on the table like it was a diamond necklace too. The saddest part? Someone did buy it. Which means either the world is stranger than we thought, or one-legged toddlers are a booming market. 25. Craigslist once featured a listing for a slightly used Ouija board. Slightly used, as if ghosts have a rental policy. The description included a warning. It sometimes answers on its own. Yeah, that's called your roommate messing with you. The seller swore it came with unwanted energies and demanded buyers sign a no-liability waiver. Oh sure, nothing says trustworthy transaction like signing a ghost contract with a stranger on Craigslist. That's not paranormal activity, that's Darwinism. 26. At a flea market in Pennsylvania, someone tried to sell rare water. Just water. In a regular plastic bottle, hand-labeled not from tap. They swore it was collected from a mountain spring. Which mountain? Didn't say. How rare? Didn't say. Price? $20. Honestly, the label might as well have said, definitely not hose water, please believe me. And the tragic thing? Someone probably paid more for that bottle than they would for actual gasoline. 27. In California, a thrift shop put a pair of sunglasses on display with the tag slightly cursed. Just slightly. Apparently, the last owner reported a series of mild inconveniences while wearing them, like getting parking tickets and spilling coffee. Wow, terrifying. I can see the horror film now. Final Destination 7, the latte stains. They still charge $12 for them, which is incredible, because if I'm paying money to inherit a curse, it better at least involve ancient tombs, not traffic citations. 28. At a garage sale, someone offered a fully functional time machine, which turned out to be, wait for it, a microwave. They'd taped a note on it saying, technically, it moves food into the future. I mean, I can't even argue with the logic. It does take your frozen burrito from 1997 to ready in 3 minutes. Price, $100. That's not a time machine. That's just reheated regret. Honestly, it's still the most scientifically accurate thing I've seen sold at a garage sale. 29. On Craigslist, a guy listed slightly haunted recliner. He swore every time he sat in it, he heard whispers telling him to eat more cheese. Either that, or he just had a lactose problem. The description insisted it was comfortable, but unsettling. Which, to be fair, describes 90% of recliners anyway. Asking price, $75. Honestly, if a chair's gonna whisper at me, I'd prefer it tell me something useful, like stock tips, not dairy recommendations. 30. A flea market in Georgia once had a table selling authentic moon rocks, which, of course, were gravel spray-painted silver. The seller insisted NASA didn't want you to have these. Yeah, probably because NASA has better things to do than fight you for driveway debris. The fact people even considered buying them proves that if Elon Musk ever starts selling used Mars air filters, we're all doomed. 31. A thrift store proudly sold a set of decorative knives. Sounds cool until you saw them. Butter knives glued onto a wooden board. The craftsmanship? About the level of a bored middle school art project. Price tag, $60. That's right, $60 for butter knives you can't even use. The best part? The label described them as conversation starters. Yeah, the conversation being, why did you waste $60 on butter knives? 32. At a garage sale in Kansas, a woman sold a working VCR, no remote, which would be fine if the VCR wasn't wrapped in duct tape like a hostage. When asked why, she said, "It rattles less this way." Rattles less. I don't want my electronics rattling at all. For $5 though, some brave soul took it home. Honestly, I hope they plugged it in, because if a demon crawled out of it, at least it would have been poetic justice. 33. Craigslist once had an ad for a single Dorito shaped like Italy. The seller hyped it up as geographically accurate and wanted $10. $10 for a chip, and not even a fresh one. It looked like it had been sitting in someone's glove compartment for a week. I mean, sure, it vaguely resembled Italy if you were legally blind and holding it upside down, but that's not a collectible. That's a snack with an identity crisis. 34. At a flea market in Alabama, someone sold a personalized jar of air. Yes, air. They would literally write your name on a jar, seal it, and call it yours. The logic was, own your very own atmosphere. Price, $8. That's not merchandise, that's performance art. Imagine explaining that purchase. Oh, this jar? That's my personal air supply. Please don't breathe near it. Honestly, it's only a matter of time before someone sells exclusive silence in a shoebox. 35. At a garage sale in Ohio, a man was selling what he proudly called a collection of cursed spoons. Yes, spoons. Not swords, not ancient relics, just tarnished silverware he swore brought bad luck to anyone who used them. His proof? Every time he ate with them, his sports team lost. That's not a curse. That's just being a Cleveland Browns fan. Price was $10 for the set, which is bold considering you can steal better spoons from an Applebee's for free. Honestly, if you're buying haunted cutlery, you're not unlucky. You're just incredibly efficient at wasting money. 36. At a flea market in Arizona, I spotted a booth selling shark repellent spray, a homemade bottle of water with 100% guaranteed protection scribbled in Sharpie on the label. The kicker? It was being sold in the middle of the desert. Unless the sharks have learned to crawl through sand dunes, I think we're good. But hey, for only $5, you too can walk confidently through Phoenix knowing no great white will ever ambush you at the Taco Bell drive-thru. Honestly, it's the safest scam in history. No refunds, but also no way to prove it doesn't work. 37. Craigslist once had a listing for a jar of farts. No, not a metaphorical description of disappointment. An actual mason jar, allegedly containing the seller's finest work. He claimed it was sealed for freshness, which is possibly the worst sales pitch since used parachute. Asking price? $50. I can't decide what's worse, the fact someone thought this was a business idea, or the fact that jars can in fact hold gas for only a few hours. So really, anyone who bought this just spent $50 on a jar of air and a lifetime of shame. 38. At a garage sale in Florida, because of course Florida, a family tried selling a homemade roller coaster. And by roller coaster, I mean 2 wooden planks nailed together with a shopping cart welded on top. Their ad described it as thrilling but slightly dangerous. That's not a selling point, that's an autopsy report. They even had the nerve to ask $300 for it. Imagine explaining to your insurance company that your kid broke their leg because you bought the dollar store version of Six Flags. Honestly, the only real thrill here is seeing which bone breaks first. 39. At a thrift shop in Indiana, someone donated a single framed photo of Nicolas Cage. Not signed, not rare, just Nick Cage, smiling in a Sears quality headshot. The store displayed it front and center, tagged priceless. And you know what? They weren't wrong. It's hard to put a value on the world's most unpredictable actor staring at you while you eat dinner. One woman actually bought it for $20, claiming it would protect the home. Which makes sense. Who needs haunted dolls when you can just weaponize Nicolas Cage's resting chaos face? 40. Craigslist once blessed us with an ad for a partially working laptop. The catch? It was literally missing the screen. The seller described it as perfect for someone who doesn't need visuals. Oh right, because computers are famously useful without the part that displays anything. He proudly insisted you could still hear the startup sound. That's not a laptop. That's a very expensive speaker with trust issues. Asking price? $100. If you bought that, congratulations. You're the only person on earth who can enjoy Netflix purely as a radio drama. 41. At a flea market in New York, a man sold celebrity bathwater. He swore he had collected it from a hotel drain after a famous singer stayed there. Which singer? He wouldn't say. The water was in old Poland spring bottles with the labels half peeled off. Price? $50 per bottle. That's not bathwater. That's tap water with stage fright. The sad thing is, someone probably bought it, hoping to clone Beyoncé, only to discover they just spent $50 on vaguely lukewarm mystery liquid. Honestly, if there's a dumber way to gamble with your DNA, I haven't seen it yet. 42. At a garage sale in Wisconsin, a man proudly displayed a working Xbox 360 box. Not the console, just the cardboard box it originally came in. Price? $30. His reasoning was that the box itself is collectible. Oh sure, because nothing screams investment like a decade-old cardboard cube that still smells like Cheeto dust. The funniest part? Someone bought it. Not for the nostalgia, but because they needed a box to pack for moving. This is how garage sales work. One man's trash is another man's moving supply. Marked up 30 bucks. 43. A thrift store once sold authentic medieval armor, which turned out to be nothing more than 2 trash can lids duct taped to a pair of sweatpants. The tag even called it battle ready. Yeah, if the battle was against raccoons in a suburban alley. They wanted $80 for it too. And the tragic part? It actually sold. Some poor guy out there is running around his yard, clanging like a human recycling bin, convinced he's Sir Lancelot. Honestly, it's less armor and more a noise complaint waiting to happen. 44. Craigslist once had a post for slightly used engagement ring, bad vibes included. The seller explained his fiancée dumped him a week after he bought it, so he was reselling the stone of betrayal. He wanted $2,000 and warned buyers that it may be cursed, which is hilarious because anyone dumb enough to propose with a second-hand cursed ring probably deserves to get dumped twice. Honestly, if your love story begins with a discount ex-fiancé diamond, congratulations, you're already halfway to divorce court. 45. At a flea market in Tennessee, someone had a full table of collectible staplers. That's right, dozens of dusty, rusting staplers, each labeled like fine wines. Vintage 1978, rare swing line. The seller explained he'd been collecting for decades and that each stapler had a soul. Yeah, buddy, I'm sure your office supplies whisper at night. He wanted $500 for the lot. And the saddest part? He called it his retirement plan. Imagine explaining to your financial advisor that your 401k is a box of staplers that nobody wants. 46. At a garage sale in Illinois, a man was selling alien eggs. They were literally just Easter eggs, spray-painted silver, stacked inside a shoebox. He swore they were from Roswell. His proof? You can feel the energy. Right, because nothing says extraterrestrial technology like leftover plastic from Dollar Tree. Price was $100. Honestly, the only alien thing about them was the audacity it took to think someone would pay real money for them. If this guy ever meets actual aliens, they'll probably sue him for defamation. 47. Craigslist once had a listing for gently used Ouija board for pets. Yes, pets. The seller claimed you could communicate with your dead hamster using this specially animal-friendly board, which looked exactly like a normal Ouija board, except the letters were written in Comic Sans. They asked $75 for it too. Honestly, if you're holding a seance for your parakeet, you don't need a Ouija board. You need a therapist, and possibly a restraining order from the spirit world. 48. At a flea market in Kentucky, someone tried to sell a working iPod, except when you picked it up, it was just an old potato with earbuds jammed into it. The guy swore it was a joke piece of art, but the price tag said $50. Firm. The funniest part? Someone actually bought it. And you know what? In a weird way, that potato probably has better battery life than the actual iPod. So maybe the joke's on us. 49. At a garage sale in Missouri, a family was selling genuine ghost in a jar, a sealed mason jar with cloudy smoke inside described as captured spirit. They swore if you opened it, bad things would happen, which is a genius scam. Because how do you test it? If you open it and nothing happens, the ghost escaped. If something bad does happen, congratulations, you just got cursed for $15. Honestly, it's the ultimate pyramid scheme of the afterlife. 50. On Craigslist, someone once listed a time machine from the future. It was literally a broken treadmill with aluminum foil taped to the sides. They claimed it worked once but only went forward in time 5 minutes, which, newsflash, is just called standing there. They wanted $300 for it. $300. Honestly, it wasn't a time machine. It was proof that some people will duct tape anything shiny to garbage and call it innovation. Elon Musk, if you're watching, this guy's available for your next startup. 51. And finally, the crown jewel. A garage sale in California tried to sell a literal bag of dirt, just a Ziploc baggie filled with backyard soil. The handwritten sign said, "Not regular dirt, special dirt." Why special? Because, according to the seller, it has been walked on by humans. That's it. That's the selling point. Dirt, with footprints. For $20, you could literally buy better dirt for free just by touching the ground, and yet someone bought it. Which means the dumbest item on this list isn't the dirt, it's the human who paid for it. And honestly, I think that's the perfect ending. Not one bag of dirt, but an entire planet of it. Welcome to Earth. And there you have it. Proof that humanity will buy, sell, and proudly display absolutely anything, as long as it's worthless enough to be called special. So which one deserves the crown for dumbest? Drop your vote in the comments, or better yet, tell me the most ridiculous thing you've seen someone try to sell. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this tour through humanity's bargain bin brain, subscribe for the next round of idiocy, and remember, the madness only gets dumber from here.